Hey everybody, good morning. It's Friday. Lori, good morning from yet another cold and snowy day in Michigan. Yeah, it's that way here too. Like we had a couple of warm days where we could sit out in the backyard. And man, we were spoiled. We were really spoiled and we're paying for it now. And yeah. I am here with you today because we're not closing on the house today. Incredibly disappointing. And I spent a lot of my time today trying to kind of figure out where my head's at with that. In reality, it's still going to happen. It's this feeling of like this gigantic event that we've been waiting for 45 days, which is the closing period required for VA loans, right? And so we've been waiting for this 45-day event, and I was pretty cool with it. And actually, I was pretty cool like letting it happen as it happened, given all of the other things going on in the world. Um, but as this week started to happen, and as we packed up our life in this house, Friday became like a big day, and I had a lot of work to do as far as going in there and cleaning it out, and moving, and all of the stuff involved. And yeah, so now I've gone through kind of like, and I kind of just kind of jotted notes. So what I want to talk about today is like whatever this is where my head is right now. I kind of want to go through that and see, like, have a discussion about it. Maybe you guys can help me think it through. So I don't know if it's anxiety. I don't know what it is, but it's definitely a feeling of like lack of control. Like I'm definitely somebody that thrives on having a direction and going in that direction, especially now with everything we've done in our lives. Like this is like setting a path and going down that path, right? So having a feeling of being at the mercy of other people's decisions is not something I enjoy, and I can't imagine a lot of people do. So I want to dive into that and kind of like the notes that I jotted down. This might be a little bit more of a meandering conversation, just based on the fact that I just kind of like spitballed things as I was sitting here, and just trying to figure it out myself. So we'll talk about that. First, let me say good morning to Helen. Yeah, Lori, thank you. I appreciate that. Brenda, good morning to you. Thank you for joining me. I have one meme for today that I just again was one of those ones where I was like, that's pretty funny. If anybody is an Aliens movie fan, free masks. You can have all these masks you want. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. And there's people actually, I saw posting in the comments to this one. There were people posting photos of them wearing a mask that actually had the alien printed on the mask. I thought that was pretty good. So, yep, there you go, free mask. It's actually funny because I'm trying to find a mask for myself. I was actually planning on doing it yesterday, waiting until the last minute. But for the closing, I have to wear a mask. We have one N95 mask for Lynn to wear, but I need one. So, and they're sterilizing the room and all that good stuff, but just to be absolutely safe, right? So, but I think we located a couple that we can use, so I should be good in that regard. Good morning, Marcia from sunny North Carolina. Good for you. Yeah, sunny here. No, it's actually overcast. It just looks sunny. Um, you know, trying to get the spring. What I am enjoying are the light at the end of the night. So sunset here I think was 7:59 last night. So tonight I think we're going to be officially past 8 o'clock with the sunset, which to me is amazing. And it's funny because when you're in this phase right now, when you're used to the sun going down at 5:30, 6 o'clock, at when it's still light out at 7:30, it feels earlier in the day. You don't realize how late it is, and you're thinking about making phone calls or whatever, and I'm like, wow, it's actually kind of late. So yeah, it was different. Um, so yeah, it's nice. It's pretty nice. We not last night, but the night before, we watched A League of Their Own with the boys. Nicholas, the younger one, didn't quite appreciate it, but the older one did. So Lynn got to watch an old movie from her past that she's seen a million times, and got to watch it with the boys. And Nicholas liked it a lot. I have that Madonna song stuck in my head. Like I woke up with it today. This used to be my playground. If that's the name of I don't know if that's the title of the song, but that's like in my head right now. I haven't heard that song in 20 years, but it's in my head and I can't get rid of it. Um, but aside from that, not a whole lot going on other than the house. I mean, that's like dominating our thoughts, right? So, business is kind of rolling along, right? Things are going well from a work side of things. Um, we don't seem in either business don't seem to experience a whole lot of turmoil from at least not yet anyway. A lot of turmoil from uh, what's going on in the environment. But which brings me kind of brings me to a little bit of a thing like the gurus out there, like the get rich gurus, like the Grant Cardones of the world. Apparently, I don't know if you know who Grant Cardone is, but he's like this. He says he's a multimillionaire and he flies in a private jet and he owns a Bentley and all this other stuff. And he's always talking about sales and doing your own thing. And he's got these real estate opinions and all sorts of things. Uh, and you know, apparently, I don't know if it's a marketing ploy by him, but apparently he put out something the other day that he might be going bankrupt. And maybe he is, and he's just trying to make it a marketing thing, like whatever this might be. But I know he got a lot of people to invest money into his Cardone Capital Group, and I don't know where that money is going now, or if there is any money left. He says he has like I think properties worth up to like $900 million or something. And while I did benefit from reading his books, as far as hustling and focus and driving towards what I want, um, I always got like a little bit of an alarm bell with him. And so, and even the people that follow him, like you can maybe sort of tell who somebody is by the people they attract, maybe. Um, and so, like, there's something that always just kind of made me wonder. So, I just got an email about a podcast he just did about, the bankruptcy thing, and so we're gonna see what's going on. I'm gonna listen to that podcast later today and see if I can grab any truth out of that. But I think that a lot of people, a lot of businesses are gonna experience some realities going forward here. There are some good businesses that are going to struggle and might not survive this whole period. But there's also going to be a lot of people that may deserve to go out of business because they were doing some shady stuff that's now exposed because they don't have the comfort of a good economy. Although on the flip side of that, I wonder if they're also going to be being able to take advantage of the easygoing lending practices now with the Paycheck Protection Program and the emergency disaster loans and all of this stuff. Like I wonder if that's an equalizer for the good businesses and bad businesses, or if this period exposes bad businesses. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think that you can. What I have seen in the people that I follow are the ones that are genuine, that are genuinely scared, that genuinely care, that are genuinely honest about where they are with this whole thing. There's one marketing guy that I've always looked at as kind of a showboat that just seemed like he's always posting photos of his beautiful house, his beautiful cars, and he just seemed like a young, slick, whatever, right? But since this all started, the whole coronavirus thing, his posts have been about preparing for it, flat out honesty with where he was, and a sort of a like, look, I'm taking this serious. You guys can not, and if you don't, fine, but don't laugh at me because I have a year's worth of food in my basement. And his topics have been real, and so I think that these times kind of bring out who people really are. You can see the people that genuinely care. You can see the people that are careful about themselves and the people around them. Then you can see the other ones that, sometimes the veneer kind of fades a bit. So it's very interesting. I'm always a people person, and I've always, and from what I read, it's a skill that bullied people develop, right? Like, so there's the quarterback that's always popular that never has to worry about anything. They stride out into a situation unaware of other people a lot of times, right? And then there's the other ones that are always looking out for danger. So they're reading little things from everybody. And I think that was me, right? I'm always looking for where the danger was. Now, translated into business, that can be very good. But in social situations, the slightest little quirk that somebody else might overlook and let somebody else get away with, manners of speaking and whatever, I always keyed in on. And I always felt like it was a good ability to tell when somebody was lying or being deceptive or posturing, whatever it might be. I think I feel like I've had a pretty good track record with people in my life. And when I've not followed that instinct is when I've been bitten, because I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt, because of like this process I've been going through over the past couple of years, right? Trying not to be judgmental or trying not to be critical or trying not to, trying to be more understanding and empathetic and whatever. So I've swung back and forth. So I've been like super protective and super critical, and I swung the other direction, trying to be put into practice empathy and compassion and forgiveness, and even when people maybe don't deserve it. I don't know if we want to go that far in saying that, but I've swung back and forth. Now I'm coming more toward the middle as I try to figure out where the proper boundaries are. And it's just, I can see it now, like using that ability that I believe I have. I see the way people post, and I can see, I think, the common languages that come out of certain people, as they're describing their situation and their lack of empathy for other people, and like, oh yeah, I could see like some of that creeping out earlier. But now when you're in this heightened, stressful situation, the true nature of people comes out. I guess that's where I'm going with this, right? You see the true nature in people, where they could have hid it from you in the past. Now you see like, oh yeah, there you are. I got you. So it's interesting. There's no crying in baseball, Marsha. Yeah. Tom Hanks in that movie is. That is just like, I mean, that is Tom Hanks, man. He can play that role. So, and my sons were like, "What is wrong with this guy?" And you have to like, because my kids have seen. My older one saw Big, and he saw what other movie? What other recent movie has he seen from Tom Hanks? Like we grew up with Tom Hanks, right? So, whatever age you are right now, like Tom Hanks has been there our entire lives, and we know that like he's just an amazing actor, an amazing person, probably. And to see him play that role, which is an endearing role, albeit misogynistic or whatever. He plays an endearing character, right? But like my kids are like, he's drunk. Like, I mean, like they just didn't quite, it's hard for them to see the big picture, especially at that age, I'm sure, right? And why is he being so mean and like all of that stuff? So it's even the John Lovitz character with his, John Lovett's character was funny and endearing with his, like parts of that movie. But it's funny. But yeah, like there's no crying in baseball. That whole thing was the kids didn't quite understand why that was funny. Lynn was dying laughing watching that. Good morning from Georgia, Melissa. Good morning, Angel. Good morning. Thought-provoking Thursday to all of you. The most thought-provoking thing about today? It's actually Friday. Was it thought-provoking yesterday? Or do you actually think today is Thursday? Maybe today is Thursday and we all think it's Friday. How's that for thought-provoking? Aubrey, hi. How are you? Good to see you. And Patty, I agree with businesses who don't need to reopen and will never be missed. Sure, don't miss them now. Hey, Patty. Yeah, there's some things out there that I thinking yesterday about the landscape of businesses. Um, that to me is going to be hard. When I see the businesses that don't reopen, the restaurants that maybe I never got to experience, or the ones that were my favorites, and maybe like if I just wanted to go back one more time, you know, and that's the selfish side of it, right? The other side of it is that all these people that poured their hearts and dreams and heart and soul into their businesses that might not be able to have them reopen. Man, just to think about that. I mean, my computer store, one night I remember turning off the lights. It was dark. It was probably 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. I had just this little computer store, like 600 square feet, right? And I turned off the lights one night, and you get so caught up in the struggle, and you get so caught up in the day to day, even the fights between husband and wife and customers, and there's good and bad, right? But I turned off the lights one night. And it was just dark, and there's just like the glow of like a neon light in the room, and I looked around at everything that was there, and I thought, yeah, you know what? I mean, this is pretty cool. Like this is I did this. And it was a small little thing for me. And the day I closed that store, we went on to bigger and better things, right? But the day that I closed that store was really hard, really hard. And closing a business completely has to be one of the hardest things for anybody to do. We were always moving on to something else, so it didn't feel so final. There was always like an iteration. But for somebody to pour everything into a restaurant, and the amount of hours that you have to put into a restaurant, and a lot of other businesses too, I'm not just exclusively talking restaurants, but you're there with your customers. I don't know if there's not many businesses where you have that much of a sense of like one-on-one experiences with customers, and where, I mean, businesses, restaurants especially, thrive on that groundswell of support. I mean, having the right culture and the right environment can make or break a restaurant regardless of the food. I mean, there's a lot of places that serve slop but have amazing cultures. I mean, I just thought of a place on the Pitt campus, the University of Pitt campus, where, I mean, it's just hot dogs and French fries, and it's dirty, but everybody goes there. There's just a whole culture built around the place, and so like some of those places when we emerge from this, if they're gone, is going to be a weird. It's a weird landscape, a weird thing to think about. Yeah. Cold, rainy day, but glad snow stayed north, Jackie. Yeah, I don't need any more snow. I woke up yesterday to frost on the windows of my cars, and I was like, oh gosh. Today wasn't so bad, though. Yes, today I had to take out the garbage and was walking around first thing in the morning. And it was kind of nice. It wasn't cold, it was crisp, but not a bad day. So Debbie says, seems like it might be the beginning edge of what goes around comes around. I wonder if businesses that have been involved in shady practices might now experience the fallout from that. Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. Are they going to get bailed out again, or are they actually going to, reap the reward, right? Whatever they've been growing, what are they getting now, right? I don't know. I don't know. Patty says, I think these bad guys just evolve and go on being shady and will just keep ripping people off. That may actually be true. Um, let me finish this real quick. They just change their tactics and use the systems if they can. Yes, I am cynical. So, Patty, but I don't. You're cynical, but I don't know that it's unjustified or unwarranted, right? We talked about like people that live for a business, like for a company. They work for 30 years and then they're laid off with no retirement or whatever. You grow up thinking that if you're good and you do good things, that it will be rewarded, and in reality, and I don't know, I've come to see and come to find online business owners that I respect. And some people that I say that I would love to work with them for a certain amount of time for free just to see it, just to experience it. But I think the people that get a lot of news are the bad bosses, right? They're the bad organizations, the people that are dishonest, that treat their employees poorly, that have shady business practices. And we also see them get away with things. There's a guy that I knew that set up a fake company with a minority uh, owner or leader, and they just were using that company to pass on contracts to his company. And he's still rich, like he got caught, but he's still rich, like so when you see that, you're like, oh my, what? How are people that are honestly working hard and struggling and making an honest living, how are they not being rewarded as appropriately as in proportion to somebody that's being dishonest? And I guess you have to live with yourself. And my feeling is that that person's probably dealing with the dishonesty. While you might have money and you might have nice things, I can't imagine like your relationships are built on being dishonest. I can't imagine that that feels good. Um, but from my perspective, there's also like there's people that I know are honest business people, and everything I hear about them is good and honest. But then I hear about the people that they're associating with. Like there's somebody in particular I'm thinking about right now that has been incredibly dishonest in my circle of business, right? And and I know he has business dealings with somebody that I highly respect. And so that I hate that it causes me to question the person I respect as to whether like is he complicit in the same sort of business practices? Are they only putting on a facade? Or is it just that they interact in the same circles and it's advantageous to do business with each other? I don't know. I don't know. So I just I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll just see how it all shakes out. And in the end, thinking about all of that too much can just make you uh, put you in a bad place. So in the end, I just bring it back to I can only handle what I can handle, and I have to do what's good for me, my customers, my family, and we just keep pressing on, and in a way, put blinders on. Regardless of what anybody else is doing, I can only handle my business the way I handle my business, and you know, uh, I have to feel good about whatever happens in the end. I have to feel good about the reputation that I end up having. I have to feel good about what I say yes and what I say no to. I have to feel good about the relationship I have with my family, with my customers, the amount of money I make, the amount of security I end up with. As long as I'm okay with all of that, then okay, right? But if I'm not, I have to adjust and figure out why. And again, that brings us back to this whole process, right? The whole define my day process. Every day, you know, if I have a bad feeling in my gut, trying to dig at that and figure out why, or if I do something that didn't work out, well, that's okay too, as long as I did it with the right intentions, and I did it to the best of my ability. And we go from there. So it's also one of the reasons why we've not offered any courses or anything, like any pay for courses, because like that's the hot thing right now, right? Offering a paid course, like saying to you, like, hey, for $29.95 or $497, you can learn blah blah blah. And I just don't feel it doesn't feel right for me at the moment. I'm not saying that it won't, but I don't feel like we're in the right place to do it. So, I might eventually start offering different things. And I know we've even had people ask for it. Like I would pay for something like something for business owners is what somebody contacted me about. And I would actually do it, but I have to really feel like I have enough to offer the value that it's worth for you to pay for it. And I don't feel like I'm there at the moment. In a couple of weeks or a couple of months, maybe we will be, but it's not authentic to me that I can't put something out there and charge people money for it and feel good about it. Not at the moment anyway. And that can change. Everything's growing and evolving, right? Um, Angel, I think you should always listen to your intuition when it comes to character. Benefit of the doubt for me is more about the gray areas where someone might do something very different than what I would do, that I would expect from someone I know. Yeah, and I agree. And I think I've been, as I've gone this back and forth path, I've tried to understand that people do things based on their own perception and their own perspectives. And a lot of times, the one thing that I always keep in mind is that we judge other people on their actions and ourselves on our intentions. So I always keep that in the back of my mind because, there's things that I might do that somebody would say, well, I would never do that. And I think it's perfectly okay. But I maybe even intended to do better. Like, so I'm saying, well, I intended to be nice about it, or whatever. So I always try to keep that in mind too. So there is gray area, and I think allowing for that gray area is really important. Um, Stacy, good morning. I'm with you. I agree with what you're saying about businesses. I was up later than usual last night and caught Nightline. The episode was really eye-opening on the meat processing workers, the drive-through workers, and the Instacart workers. I pray that they get the protection they need for themselves and everyone else. I agree. I was thinking about that too, especially the Instacart people. I honestly didn't even think about our food supply until I saw that. I really think if we keep our heads and pace ourselves and just slowly breathe through the next 9 months together, it's going to be okay if we don't panic or freak out. Panicking could cause us to run into trouble. I pray we stay level headed. And I agree. And I actually thought about the food supply a while back and talked to my wife about it. And Lynn kind of thought I was being a little bit doomsdayish, but it's the truth. Like it like right now, food supply's fine and farmers are fine and there's plenty of inventory, but getting it out, distributing it is going to be hard. Um, and it's also why we need to like keep the pace of this slow. I also saw that like the testing on that aircraft carrier, like 60% of the people that tested positive for it showed zero symptoms. So that's even a higher rate than they were anticipating. Um, in New York, I think almost 50% of the people that they test are coming up positive. New York City, that is. So this might even be further into the society than we think. We still need to slow it down, but testing, testing, testing. Let's get it done, people. Angel says this town is weird. Some of our local restaurants are known for yelling at customers, and people actually like it. They will yell at you for not being ready to order and being on your phone. I guess if you're, it's all in what you like. As long as the restaurant authentically puts out that they're going to be that way, you'll attract people that want that experience. If they're coming there for a nice meal, and they get that, then obviously something was wrong. But that's all about everything. Every business needs to put out an authentic message to attract the right customers. It's a conversation I had with so many customers. They just did not get it. They always just want to make everybody happy, not understanding you really need to define who you want to attract to your business. Arbia says, I really like the journals. They help me plan my day. That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. If I could ask you for something, it would be to leave us a 5-star review on Facebook on our Defining Life podcast and tell everybody else about us. Thank you. Levi, good morning. Good to see you. I hope you're feeling well. Mary, happy Friday. It is Friday. Somebody posted, Debbie, when you said a thought-provoking Thursday to all of you, I actually had to think to myself, is it Thursday? But I'm fairly certain it's Friday. So let me talk a little bit about this, and feel free to comment and give me your input, keeping in mind that this is not a well thought out topic. It's just kind of evaluating how I'm feeling about the situation. So our current situation is this. The IRS is not processing transcripts at the moment for banks. And so without the mortgage company, given the tighter restrictions on what's going on right now, we have gone through a bunch of extra hoops for the mortgage, given that we're self-employed and all this other stuff too. It doesn't make it easier. So we've met all the requirements, but we can't get our tax transcripts. And so that's kind of holding up the process at the moment. We're trying to figure out a way around that. So today was the day that we were planning on closing. Like we would be done by now, right? And able to walk into our new home at this moment in another parallel universe that's happening right now. Yesterday, was getting any extra documentation we could to the mortgage company, sending that to underwriting. It was dealing with the sellers, trying to extend the agreement so that we could get this stuff taken care of and get out, like into the house. Meanwhile, the sellers have to move into their own house or their own new house, and they're dealing with that side of things. So there's a chain of events that happens all from this one little thing, right? And so, we're coming up to the wire, and I'm hoping that like by some miracle we get a clear to close letter yesterday, and then maybe we might not be able to close today, but we can close Saturday, in which case I don't have to cancel all of the transfer of utilities. Well, we didn't get that at 4 o'clock yesterday, so 4 o'clock I have to start calling all the utilities and canceling all of the transfers. And now today we're still waiting for answers, right? We're still waiting for this like phone call that goes like, okay, we're ready, let's go, right? And so we're in this wait phase, and we've sort of been in this wait phase for a couple of days now, right? And so, um, I'm thinking like the things I'm jotting down here is like, I don't know if this is anxiety. Maybe it is, but it's this. I woke up today with this sense of like lack of mission. Like I was waking up, like there's things I do, right? I do these videos, I do regular things for work. I check our advertising, we check our inventory, we talk about sales and discussions we've had with customers, the projects we're working on in the business. We're packed. But I woke up this morning, I was distracting myself by reading the news, and I had this like lack of motivation to get moving. And it's because we have this big thing hanging over us that is going to change the course of our lives, and I have no control over it. And through this process, anytime that like we've been waiting for underwriting or waiting for anything, any kind of approval or inspection or whatever, there's this feeling of like, okay, I've done what I can do. Now we're waiting on somebody else. And that's a space. There's a hole right there where I can't do anything. And I'm somebody that likes to do, like I need to work toward a solution. And when I can't have the ability to do that, is when I start like okay, now what? Like what do I do? And it like there's a roadblock. There's like I can't see past this thing I'm waiting for. And so there's this feeling that like I don't know if it's anxiety or what, but it's like that I can't everything else is devalued. Like every other activity is devalued. Everything from exercising to reading to meditating, which is hard to focus on anyway, to all of the other stuff is devalued because I know there's this big important thing out there that is just life changing, and I'm just waiting for that. So the inclination is to distract, right? The inclination is to sit and watch the news. The inclination is to watch a movie. The inclination is to play video games with the kids. The inclination is to take a nap. The inclination is to go to sleep early. Some people eat, whatever that might be, because we're sort of just waiting for an event, whether it's the shoe to drop, like if you're somebody that's worried about doomsday, you're worried about that. Whether it's good news you're waiting for, like we're just so worried about this one thing that everything else sort of gets drowned out. It's almost like we get tunnel vision and everything else kind of just gets pushed off to the side. And what occurred to me, there's a feeling of wanting to pass the time to bring this event forward to us. There's a feeling of being out of control because we can't control the situation. And so then we almost stop controlling the things we can control, right? The other things that are probably even more important, but at the moment they don't feel like importance, right? We start to avoid. And so what it made me think of was there's this experiment in learned helplessness that where there's dogs that they put in cages, and they were one of the cages was electrified, or actually they were both electrified. And one dog figured out that if you press a button or something in the cage, it would stop the electrical charge. The other dog, that button didn't work. And so the dog learned that there was nothing it could do to stop that electrical charge. And so through this experiment, what they figured out was is that the dog that learned it could never stop the charge just like curled itself up in a ball and never tried to stop it anymore. Um, and then I believe, if I'm remembering this correctly, is that after this experiment was over, that dog continued to act as if it had no control over what was going on around it, where the other dog did. And so when you take this into society and the humans, there are humans that grow up in situations where they just feel like this is always going to be like this. There is nothing I can do to change it, no matter how much you show them that they can change it. And then there's other people that walk around thinking they can change everything. Like there's a way to figure everything out. And those are a lot of times people that are successful. Um, it's the ones that like feel like there's nothing they can do to get out of poverty, sickness, to change an abusive relationship. Like all of those things, um, they can't change that. And I feel like maybe that I got a little glimpse into it, and I've had it in other times, right? As Lynn and I are, you know, practically on the edge of divorce, walking into the office for me felt like I can't even. How do I think about work when my life is falling apart? Client meetings took on less importance. Paying bills took on less important. Like, like you do these things, but you're almost like on autopilot doing them, and you just it's you're almost just you're not bringing your whole self to the situation, right? So it's I think I got a glimpse into that today, or over the past couple of days, because there's this huge thing going on, and my inclination, my intuit or my feeling is to just like, let's pass the time so that the answer gets to me quicker, right? And that's kind of the feeling, is that if I can distract myself enough, then the answer is going to come, and whatever it is, then I can deal with that. But in the absence of an answer right now, in this limbo state, it's hard to actually work towards the things that I need to be working on. That's not to say that I'm not working on them. I am. It's just that much more difficult. But I think that's the decision, right? That's the decision we have to make. And there's people that I think are making the decision to just stop doing everything, because there's this gigantic unknown in this virus, and whether their business is going to be around, or whether their job is going to be around, or whether their health is going to be around. We've been talking all week about, giving grace and giving up. And I think that maybe, and maybe this is kind of my gift that I just received, is that I've had a glimpse into what the giving up, like that giving up, I don't know, it's a reaction or what is it, but that feeling, that motivation to give up, I kind of got a glimpse into why maybe that happens, in that this other thing is just so big that the importance for everything else just seems diminished. And that's what we need to be aware of. We can't allow it to defeat everything else, So this my big thing right now is just getting this process over with. I every moment have a decision to understand that that's something right now I can't control. I need to push it off to the side and keep working on what I can control. you know? And so, I need to continue to be on here talking with you. I need to continue to answer emails. I need to continue to, um, you know, pay the bills. I need to continue to, send out invoices. I need to continue to work with Luann to help her do what she's got to do. I need to help Lynn continue to do what she's got to do. We're working on worldwide shipping to ship to other countries. We need to continue to work on that process. I need to continue to work on these other projects that we have on our board here. So while this one part of my life is sort of in disarray, where we have everything packed up in our house, we're living out of boxes. Where you know we have coronavirus going on, we can't leave the house. Um, we need to continue to working on the things we can control, even when that instinct is to curl into a ball and let whatever happen. So while the instinct might be, at, I don't know, 4 o'clock yesterday, I guess is actually when it kind of happened. 4 o'clock yesterday, I'm like, okay, I've worked, I have no answers. I just want to go watch TV. But I still had things I needed to do, right? Now, would it have been the end of the world if I didn't do them and just waited until today? Probably not. But that pushes back the things that I need to do today, you know? And in a way, so today was dedicated towards closing the house and everything we needed to do with that. In the way now, I have more time to do the other things that I need to accomplish. And if I don't do them, then when we do close on the house, I won't have time to do them then either. So it creates this snowball effect of all of these things we need to do because we're not shifting them appropriately. So, and maybe that's something I should go back into real quick. So, if we look at this from a time blocking perspective, today I time block, closing on the house and everything that happened afterward. Tomorrow I time blocked moving a lot of stuff, cleaning all the surfaces in the house. Sunday we time blocked packing everything, and Monday we time blocked picking up the truck and physically moving everything into the new house, right? So we had 3 days time blocked. Now, if I don't remove those blocks and, well, right now they don't go anywhere because we don't know when it's happening, but, if I don't move those blocks and shift them down the timeline and shift the other things that were on the other side of those time blocks into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, then those 4 days are basically wasted. All of the things that were supposed to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if I don't move them forward, well, then what happens if closing day is Monday or Tuesday? And so then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has to be closing, moving, unpacking, and all of that stuff, right? All of that has to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Well, then everything that was scheduled Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday has to get kicked back even further. Meanwhile, other stuff is building up. So I've blown off 3-4 days worth of work. I didn't bring anything into it, and everything's getting shoved down the road. And when that happens, then it all keeps piling up, right? And now bringing this to, so that's my one experience with it, right? Bring this to somebody that makes a habit of doing this all the time, that has this learned helplessness where they're always waiting for the shoe to drop. This is the person that on our posts writes, all I'm doing now is sitting on the couch watching TV. So they are stopping their life. And all they're doing is sitting in their sweatpants and watching TV all day. If that's really what they're doing. They might be being facetious, but let's just say that there are people doing that. And so things are still coming in, like things are still coming into the hopper, but it's plugged up because we're not accomplishing anything. It's just going to keep piling up, right? Anxiety piles up as tasks pile up, as we put our lives on hold, and it just makes our mindset worse. So we have to go back to that concept of looking at this list of things we have to do And that list of things might be as simple as exercise and eat well, but it also might be, big projects. It might be work projects. It might be outdoor projects around the house. All of the things, if we let it all pile up, if we don't rearrange it and figure out, okay, look, I can't control my job right now, but I can bring my space in order. I can bring my life in order. I can bring my relationships in order. I need to be working on something right now because, all of this is stuck in limbo. It's still coming in, right? I just need to figure out, like, readjust and figure out what I should be focusing on today. We can't let it pile up. So that's the approach I'm taking, right? So now, obviously not closing today. We might close tomorrow. I have no idea. I have no idea where we're at right now. All I can do, like, I have the choice to, just wait and do nothing and blow off the next couple of days until I get an answer. Or I bring all of the things that I needed to do next week into today, right? Into today, tomorrow, Sunday, right? And then if something happens, we close, then I readjust again, right? But at least I'm still accomplishing the things that I need to accomplish. And I can't even do that if I'm not aware of what I need to accomplish. You know what I'm saying? So if we're not doing this process, if we're not paying attention to what my goals are for the month, what my milestones for the week are, if we're not writing those things down, then we don't even know what we need to readjust. And then nothing has importance. And then we're just sort of floating along as it all piles onto us, and we get more anxious and we get more depressed and we get more screwed up with it, right? So that's what I like this kind of experience gave me a little bit of a glimpse into that process or that experience. And it again highlights the importance of what we need to do right now. Look at where things are. I would first, I don't know how to teach somebody to overcome learned helplessness other than building up a history of things that you can overcome and change. And that starts small. That starts with writing down everything that you need to do, big and small, things you can control and can't control. Figuring out what's really important to you, figuring out the things that, you know what, I want a promotion, but I'm not even working right now. So that's going to go off to the side. What can I control today? What can I do today? Maybe it's as simple as going into the garden and weeding the garden. Maybe it's as simple as looking around in your room and picking up the things off the floor. Maybe it's as big as starting that work project that, might be due, but you don't know when, but just getting it off your plate and out of your mind might accomplish something for you. So I look at your list of things and reorganize and figure out what's important for you today. And it takes discipline. I think it takes a little bit of grit. It takes this ability to say that, like, regardless how I feel right now, I am going to do what I need to do to move forward. I can't control the things that I wish I could control, but I have to live with that. I have to make peace with that and accomplish what I can. I don't want to work today. I don't want to do anything but lay on the couch and watch Netflix. But that would be unhealthy. So what I am going to do is look at the list of things that I need to accomplish or the things that I had scheduled for next week, and I'm going to bring them forward. And I'm going to accomplish those things. Right? All right, let me look at see what our comments are here. Debbie, you used my word. That's exactly the word I was trying to think of in the very beginning. So Debbie says, I call this type of situation as living in limbo, waiting for a life-changing event to happen while not having the opportunity to ensure a smooth continuation of the process. That's exactly it. And it's that feeling. I think what happens is one situation has me in limbo, but for a lot of people, their entire life is in limbo because they don't have, like, they've learned that they can't control any of it or the majority of it. So they just kind of float along day to day, not understanding that they truly can change their situation. And so I think that's frustrating to me. It angers me that somebody even started their life that way. But how do we snap people out of that? And I think that's kind of like that's sort of my mission and my purpose in Define My Day and this whole process, this defining life process, is that it makes me mad to see people living their lives in limbo because they're going to continue it until they're done, and then there's nothing you can do about it. And so that to me, like, this little experience right now is kind of a gift to me in that I get to experience some of what I may have experienced in the past. And I probably will experience this again sometime in the future, but it gives me a glimpse into how people might be living their entire lives, which it's eye opening. I, I, and it's disheartening, I think might be the right word. Patty says, I understand exactly what you mean about being kind of paralyzed with apprehension or whatever, uh, whatever you're waiting for to happen. I do the same thing. I can only think of this one thing and then going through a stressful time. Yeah, and so it's almost like it creates like this wall where you can't see beyond it. You can't see going around it. Um, and it's like you need to like tear that wall down in some way or let it come crashing down on you, like whatever it is, like it just needs to happen, right? And so we have to, I think, a valuable skill is learning, like, kind of like traversing it, whether we climb over it. If we can't climb over it, we have to figure out the other things, or we just have to be prepared for whatever is on the other side of that wall. So fortifying ourselves emotionally, physically, mentally, whatever that might be. Debbie says, back in a prior life, she was a computer programmer. It was called the if-then process. Yep. Uh, if this action happens, then that action can and will happen. It is a great process when it goes smoothly, but can be frustrating and definitely test patience and grace when it all stalls out. If then became a pull myself up on my bootstraps and take the next step no matter what. And it's funny, like, if you're talking about this like linear binary computer code or whatever, right? Like, so if then, so like if then stalls, right? So we don't have an answer, so we can't even get an if or a then. But there's these other paths that we have that we can maybe bring forward an if then that situation, right? And like we have other, it's almost like multi-threading when you talk about computer processors, right? Like, we don't have to work on this one thing. We can put this one thing on a shelf and bring forward or bring into the situation another thing. And then when this really high priority thing answers that if then question, then we can shelve this thing and bring this one back online. So it's hard to visualize sometimes, but it's hard because our brains are wired to for this one thing. How do we beat that one thing? But when that one thing doesn't want to be addressed, then we have to shift. Levi. So I just described what it's like living in a domestic abuse marriage and what it's like trying to rebuild. Then think about loss after loss as you rebuild from the abuse. The dog comes out and stays curled up, but what happens when it keeps experiencing the loss over and over again? Trying to regain losing oneself is part of that giving up. Yeah. So, Levi, I don't have that experience to that extent. Um, and I can't imagine, and especially now because there's a lot of people stuck at home in those situations right now. The only thing I can relate it to is being bullied as a kid, right? You just know every day you're walking into school, you are going to be in the situation that you can't control. You're going to take abuse, right? And you keep walking into this situation and you can't change it. Uh, that is a learned helplessness scenario, right? And, unfortunately, the person that gets abused or gets bullied learns how to be abused. And then they take that ability to other places. So, in my own experience, I was bullied, kindergarten through fourth grade. I took myself out of that situation as we moved to other areas and was still that same person that brought that ability to be bullied into a new school, a new area, a new state for the fifth and sixth grade. And then when we moved again, seventh and eighth grade, I still brought that ability to be bullied. And so you almost invite those relationships in by virtue of only knowing how to be that person. And so, it's and bullies identify victims, right? It happens the same way in domestic abuse. Like, people have the same way a bullied person or an abused person can recognize ticks in somebody else as being, like, potentially being an abuser. Abusers recognize willing victims, if you want to say that. Oh, that sounds bad, but if you want to, like, people can identify people that are easily victimized, right? And so it just becomes like this easy relationship for both parties to have because it's familiar. Both parties know how to behave. Um, and nobody, like, I'm not saying that anybody wants to be a victim. It's just like, it's that learned way, it's that learned helplessness, it's that learned behavior. And it's changing that is incredibly hard. And I think, I go back to, um, anybody can tell you you need to change the situation, right? Anybody can tell you you need to get out, or anybody can tell you, just do this. But there's a formula for it, right? Some people learn that formula as they grow up through, healthy relationships and parenting and taking situations and learning from them. But some people don't, right? I didn't learn how to behave as a confident person for like half of my life. And, I had to, in a way, reprogram my thinking. And that happened. And I go back to following a process. Um, and, I think Alcoholics Anonymous is one of those processes, right? Where, it's a process to overcome alcoholism. Um, and so if you can follow that process, then success is this, right? And so if you don't follow the process, if you don't keep your chip, or whatever that process might be, then the end result is going to be somewhat different. And so I think in a healthy, like, to be a healthy person in a healthy relationship, we have to learn what the correct process is, whether you read a book about it, whether you find somebody that has a healthy relationship and you emulate them. And the same goes for, being productive, or being a good employee, or being a good business owner. You have to find people and processes to emulate and follow as closely as possible to grow out of wherever you are into the end result that that person has for themselves. And again, that's school, right? To be an educated person, to, you learn from books, written by people that have learned math, science, philosophy, English, whatever it is. Like, we're following, like, this is how you learn this, right? And then once you graduate, then you go, okay, now build on that. And that's the same thing as a lot of us learned helplessness. Others learned how to overcome. And in order to learn how to overcome, when you see people, like, say, what's the use? And when you see people say, like, I want that result, I want to overcome this, but then they're not willing to change how they behave, they're still, like, deciding to stay in that situation. So you have to look at somebody that has what you want. whether it's relationships, whether it's a job, whether it's a financial status or societal status, whatever you're saying you want for yourself, you have to look at somebody and say, what was your process? What did you do? And it might have been um, reading. It might have been, taking courses. It might have been following a mentor. It might have been journaling. It might have, like, whatever their processes were, you have to be willing to say, I'm going to follow that person's process, no matter what it takes. I'm gonna work as hard as they did. And maybe your situation is different. Maybe you're in a worse place than when they started, and you have to work even harder, right? And I think that's the same. Like, that's how we kind of get ourselves out of the learned helplessness scenario. Is you have to find a method that you agree, you want the end result, and you have to follow that method. Um, and to bring it to define my day, I think that's part of it. I mean, this was my method to get out of the situation that I was in. And I may have had some learned helplessness in there also. Um, it's maybe something I need to look at a little bit more myself. But can I identify a time where, aside from the bullying part of my life, can I identify a time where something so big blinded me to everything else around me? I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm only aware of it right now because I'm going through it at the same time we're talking about all this other stuff. So, I don't know. It's something that I probably need to think more about myself and kind of decide, uh, or not decide, but kind of just be open to asking myself the questions. So we'll see. But Livy, understanding that it sounds like you have some experience in that. Yeah, it's. I think when somebody in that's kind of a situation where they're every day, how do I change this? Um, I don't know. My first instinct is to say you just gotta extract yourself from it, and it sounds like I feel like that's maybe what you're saying you did. Um, but there's still like that those lingering. It's almost like ripping out a tumor. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's so many pieces that still need to heal after that. Um, and I can sort of maybe identify in the way that I kind of backed away from a lot of my personal relationships over the past couple of years. Like, I abruptly, we talk about when I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving Enough, right? I kind of backed away from a lot of relationships, trying to reevaluate where I was. None of those relationships nearly as bad as a domestic abuse situation, but also understanding that I needed to get away from them so I could heal myself before I decided which relationships I wanted to get back into. It's gets harder, I think, the more extreme the situation you might be in. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. I I'm not. I don't even know. I don't think I'm qualified to even talk about that anymore. To be honest with you, I don't. I feel like I'm wading into waters that are too deep for me. So all I can say is, yeah, I don't even know that I can say anything really. Um, Lori, I know the feeling you're talking about. I felt that when we put an offer on a house that I really loved, and we had to wait to see if the sellers would accept it. It took them 2 days, and those 2 days were awful. Been there. We ended up getting the house, but I couldn't concentrate on anything until we got the answer. And so I felt the same way about a house we really liked in the fall. We were the same way. And Lynn especially was in love with this house. And I, in these situations, take on the approach that, like, whatever happens, we'll deal with it, right? Like, I want this to happen, but if it doesn't, I almost kind of feel like there's some guiding hand. Like, I take on that mentality of, not something's not happening to me, it's happening for me, right? And what am I supposed to learn from this situation? It's easier to have that mindset when it's not a life or death situation, right? And so last fall when we put an offer on a house, I felt like for Lynn, I needed to try to make it happen. And I couldn't, but I tried like every last ditch effort that I could, like trying to come up with like anything that we could try to do to get this house to work for us, and it just couldn't happen. And in the end, our offer was declined. But it's a tough situation. It's tough. Marcia says, devastating illness can be paralyzing, not just to the victim, but to those around them. Yeah. And I don't have experience with this, um, but I can only imagine that, like that's something you can't control anything. Actually, I guess I do have experience with it. But yeah. Grief can also have that same effect. I've always been a can do person who figures things out, but my husband's death took all that away for a while. I felt as if I had lost myself. Right now, it feels sort of the same way. Define My Day process has really helped me to not spend. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Define My Day process has really helped me not to spend my time on those things I cannot control. Thank you for that. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's funny. In different perspectives, I do understand, and I don't, because I don't know. I've not lost somebody as close to me as my wife, so I can't quite put myself there. But I have looked, like I have imagined that happening, like in this situation, like in trying to keep the family healthy and safe. I've sort of wondered what life would look like without her, and it's upsetting. And I have gone through the experience of when we lost the baby 6 years ago. That 2 months of watching that occur, watching him die inside of her, knowing that, even the stuff we were trying to do was really ineffectual. Um, and then when it happened, going through that process, um, it was hard to see anything else, right? And what we're talking about, it was hard to see anything else. Um, in our business, we were in one of those phases in our business where we were transitioning into something else, and even after that, going into sales calls was really hard. They have this thing weighing on you, and this experience and this trauma, and it's hard to bring your focus back on other things. Um, yeah, I mean, it's and you struggle with the, what do I have to do? What should I do? And what is absolutely necessary for me to survive to do. And that caused problems between the two of us, because knowing our financial situation coming out of that experience, I needed to get back to work, and Lynn needed to grieve. We both were grieving, but her more than me. And it caused a lot of conflict between the two of us, because I couldn't be there as much as I needed to be there for her, because I needed to make sure we could still pay our bills every month. And so, it was like I couldn't be there in the amount that I needed to be there, that she needed for me to be there. Um, but I also knew that if I didn't get to work and pay the bills, that we would be in a much worse situation. So um, that was a hard time. Um, and you're balancing all of it, you know. Debbie had to learn flip. Don't overthink it, Patty says. Uh, it will all get done somehow. I hate overthinking and hate and have to catch myself when I do it. Life is one big readjustment. I'm learning. Yes, writing things down helps a lot. And so overthinking is something that I've worked out of, right? So, and I think this is where mindfulness and meditation have helped me, especially as Lynn and I were really in the worst parts of our relationship. I would go over conversations and arguments. I would just roll it around in my mind over and over. It would be the first thing I'd think about in the morning. It would be what I'd think about in the shower. It would be what I would think about sitting at my desk. And it would be the last thing I thought about before going to bed. And over and over, and I was never accomplishing anything with it. And I think that's where mindfulness and focus and focusing on priorities, meditation helped out a lot, because meditation in that situation, like when I always wanted to be thinking about the crisis, meditation taught me how to start pulling away from that and letting it go a little bit more. And it was incredibly hard, incredibly hard. But it being hard also showed me that it needed to be done, right, in more clarity. And that helped me in this process. Define my day helped me because when I was writing down every day, I know my mind wants to be thinking about this marital crisis, but, my business and my personal health need to, like, this needs to get done today. So it would consistently, if it would be on my page and I'd look at it every day, multiple times every hour, and look at it and go, I need to get this done. Like, I don't feel like getting it done, but I need to get it done because that's what's good for me. And that's kind of the thought that I had every day as I was going through that. Um, Debbie says, I make myself flip the script and be flexible with the schedule within absolutely 1 hour when I get relay to return to work a couple weeks ago. It was crazy, chaotic. However, being flexible, giving myself grace, and practicing patience was how I got through it. It was my opportunity to have a fraction of control over how the process would go. Yeah, that's very good. Um, those days are only wasted if that's how you choose to define how you've lived that time. It's exactly how they struggle I've been having on an ongoing basis with caring for someone else and computer issues, plumbing, etc. You actually talked me through how to redefine the days and to give myself permission to really have success through flexibility. Good job. That's awesome. Major crap happened and I'm still willing. Good. Does my schedule look like a mess? Oh, yeah. But I'm okay and I can decide I'm winning one day at a time. You taught me that. Thank you very much. Very grateful. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Follow your dreams. They know the way. Yep. Important message happily shared. Every day is an opportunity to change things for the better. Absolutely. Absolutely. And even in the darkest times, like, we can make small changes and they look like nothing at the time, but they add up. Not having control makes me nuts and it's hard to change mindset and move forward. I agree. Mind boggling. Yep. It needs to be if then else. Yep. Good morning. I hope your closing happens tomorrow so you can enjoy your new home. I agree. Me too. I'm hoping for some good news sometime today. Just give me that. Just give me that clear to close, please. Let me go. Let me fly. I want to fly. Um, Happy Friday, Sheila. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I will keep everybody up to date. This went really long, but I appreciate you all being here with me, and I think this was, I think, in fact, you're kind of helping me talk through this, so I appreciate the value that you guys have all given me in this whole conversation. A key takeaway from this is to not, like, not it's not giving up, like, keeping this theme that we've had all week about giving up and giving grace. um, you know don't allow days to fly by without accomplishing what's good for you, right? Don't fool yourself into thinking that distraction and overdoing it in distracting yourself is healthy. There are things piling up, and growing your awareness of the things that need to be done for you, the healthy things for you. I'm not saying like obligations that you don't have any interest in doing. I'm saying that there are things, healthy things for you, that the more you grow your awareness of those things, the more important they'll become for you, and the more motivated you'll be to take care of them. While also doing the things that you need to do to distract yourself and be healthy once in a while. Bring those things forward, no matter what's staring you in the face right now. Bring the healthy things forward that you can do today, and start chipping them away. Like, my inclination was to get them done, right? That's what I'm inclined to say. But get them done seems like you're just going to get her done today. That's probably not the case. The case, like the situation is like, let's chip away at it. Take a perspective that you're going to chip away at the healthy things for you right now so you can get that done and get moving forward. So with that, I'm going to end today's super long session. I thank you all for being with me today. Hopefully I will have some great news for you coming up soon. I appreciate your support. In the meantime, I'm still going to be here doing these, And if one day I'm not here 10 o'clock, maybe it means I'm doing something good. So I'll see you guys all. Have a happy Friday. And at this rate, I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Take care.